Good evening, I'm Ben Mankiewicz. Welcome to TCM, where it's the second Thursday of the month, which means our second night of movies featuring January's star of the month, Jean Arthur. Born Gladys Georgiana Green, Triple G, they called her. They didn't. In Plattsburgh, New York in 1900, her early work as a model in New York led to a screen test with Fox Film Corporation in 1923. Must have been a good one. She made her film debut the same year in the silent drama Cameo Kirby, directed by an up-and-coming filmmaker named John Ford. Anyway, I'm guessing Gladys wasn't considered a winning actress name, although Georgiana Green sounds kind of intriguing. Fox, though, wanted a name change, so Gladys took one inspired by two of her heroes from history, Joan of Arc, which is Jeanne d'Arc in French, at least as I pronounce it, hence the Jean part, and the other one she took was from King Arthur. As Jean Arthur, she appeared in dozens of silent films in the 1920s, including an uncredited bit part as a secretary in the 1925 Buster Keaton comedy Seven Chances, but she failed to make much of an impact early on. By her own account, she was not much of an actress then, to such an extent that she quit Hollywood briefly in the early 1930s to work on her craft on Broadway. She then returned to sign a 5-year contract with Columbia Pictures. By the middle of the 1930s, she had emerged as one of the biggest stars in the movies. As many of you know, Arthur especially excelled in screwball comedies, including the film we begin with tonight. From Paramount in 1937, directed by Mitchell Lyson, Easy Living. Edward Arnold co-stars as J.B. Ball, the third richest banker in New York. He meets Jean Arthur when he angrily throws his wife's new expensive fur coat out the window, and it lands on Jean Arthur heading to work. She tries to return it, but he tells her to keep it, and in a simple act of kindness, also buys her a new hat to go with the coat. Of course, this being a screwball comedy, one written by Preston Sturges, no less, that single gesture leads to a series of misunderstandings that puts Arnold's marriage in jeopardy and gets Arthur fired. Here's one of the great, though slightly less heralded screwball comedies of the era. From 1937, also with Ray Milland, plus two actors who would become regulars in Preston Sturges movies once he started directing, William Demarest and Franklin Pangborn. Easy Living. Director Mitchell Lyson described Jean Arthur as leading lady in Easy Living as having a fabulous sense of timing, and she delivered a typically impressive performance in this screwball comedy. Behind the scenes, though, Arthur was engaged in a bitter fight with Columbia studio boss Harry Cohn. She'd been under contract to Columbia since 1934, but was unhappy with the movies the studio assigned her, so she declared her independence and set out to freelance instead. When Paramount signed Arthur to make Easy Living in 1937, Harry Cohn, furious and litigious, sued to prevent the picture from going forward. However, since Arthur's contract allowed her to make 2 films away from Columbia each year, the production continued. Still, Harry Cohn insisted that Jean Arthur owed him 3 more years on her contract. Arthur countersued in an attempt to get the contract terminated. It didn't resolve until months after Easy Living was finished and director Frank Capra stepped in to mediate between Arthur and Cohn. Arthur extracted a few concessions from Cohn, though they continued to have a contentious relationship until Arthur left Columbia for good 7 years later in 1944. Coming up, Jean Arthur stars opposite Charles Boyer in a romance released the same year as Easy Living, 1937. History is Made at Night is next on TCM.
Next on TCM, History is Made at Night. Then the whole town's talking. And later, too many husbands. Jean Arthur makes it bigamy tonight.